yeah, then you can press your record too.
Okay, awesome. I'm just gonna make sure that it's the right angle.
At least 5 people were taken into custody during a climate change protest in front of Chase Bank this morning. The activists parked a pink boat in the middle of Sunset Boulevard, bringing busy traffic in the area to a halt.
There is a group out here, and they are concerned about climate change, and they believe that CNN might not be taking it as seriously as they are.
Another climate change protest. They're meant to grab attention on Oscar weekend and get people thinking about a very serious issue.
So how did you first hear about Extinction Rebellion?
I lived in a town about 20 minutes from Paradise, which is the town that burned down the Camp Fire.
A few years ago, I was on a road trip of sorts, and I was in Plaquemines Parish, and it is the area in North America that is most immediately affected by climate change.
I personally have asthma, and it's mainly because of the pollution here in LA. And I didn't really think much of it growing up, seeing that it was something that was just standard since we just had pollution in LA. That's just what it was. There's nothing really questionable about it.
I grew up with the knowledge that humans were damaging the planet.
People say this all the time, and it's true. They lose a football field of land a day. It just sort of shuffs off into the Gulf of Mexico.
Those fires that I saw were not normal.
A few years ago, when fires kept happening, I had to skip school a lot because of my asthma and the smoke. This isn't normal. I've lived in LA my entire life, and I've never had to evacuate my house. I've never had to skip school because I couldn't breathe if I went outside.
They were so scary and so much bigger and more intense and fast moving, like people could not escape.
I was just going around talking to fishermen, people who live there, people whose lives are, as all of our lives are, tied up in the land that they live on, and they're seeing it vanish every day.
And I saw those happening and watched my friends posting about them and was just distraught that the places that I knew were already being affected were already being wiped out by climate fuel disruption.
This is full blown because of the climate crisis, and I really needed to take action.
So I've been aware of this for a long time. Haven't really known what to do about it.
I first heard about Extinction Rebellion after the original branch in the UK shut down London.
I started getting wind of Extinction Rebellion when it launched, and I found it very exciting.
I was looking for a group that's involved in addressing the climate crisis.
I heard about Extinction Rebellion from a podcast. I remember I was driving in my car, kids in the back seat on my way to the post office.
Well, I first heard of Extinction Rebellion generally well over a year ago when the stuff in Britain was very, very active.
So I went to a meeting in one of those groups, and it so happened that at that meeting, the group had invited 2 people from XRLA to talk. One of the speakers from XRLA said, "What we do is nonviolent direct action. We're looking for people who don't mind being arrested." And I thought, that's the group for me.
I saw there was an action at Universal Studios a while back in April 2019, I believe.
We got helicopters, we got a lot of mass media on that one. That was a very powerful, very brave, heroic action in our early days with relatively few of us, with just the idea that we cooked up in somebody's garage and then we went out and did it.
I saw Extinction Rebellion as the only organization with people of privilege like myself that was willing to make people uncomfortable, including people like myself, because direct action is not comfortable, but neither is climate change.
Direct action is showing up physically and creatively.
It is an offense in both meanings of the word. It's an offensive strategy, and it is offensive, and it's meant to be. And you're going to go do something disruptive. You're going to take risks to do it.
You put your body on the line and you take some kind of direct action to stop injustice and try to make the world a slightly better place.
I think we've all become very accustomed to clicktivism and petition signing. It's different when you show up as a human in a space with other humans in that space.
When we look throughout history, we see that a lot of changes that were made were from ordinary people who decided to rise up and demand change.
You will find so many examples of huge changes that have come about, funnily enough, not by politicians and governments leading the change, because so often they're the last ones to get behind it.
I grew up learning in history class about the civil rights movement and how powerful that was. And when we look at the number of people participating, we don't need 100% actively participating or even 50%. It's really a small number of people in the scheme of things who can create massive change.
Direct action means to me no fear and challenging someone's thinking to evolve and to change the situation.
Just look back. Apartheid in South Africa fell. Civil rights under Martin Luther King. There's so many examples. The union struggles. The history of humanity, in a way, is the history of direct action.
So when we're planning actions with XR, we usually start from a point of what's our goal? What would we like to see happen? Why are we doing this action?
The larger group is composed of smaller working groups. There's a lot going on which is important and which is a lot of fun.
So we meet, we get together, and our tactical group will form a street plan of exactly where we're going to be performing the action, and our arts team will then come together and come up with an arts component for that.
All of the parts that it takes to get to a really vibrant and beautiful direct action experience takes so much back work and so much support from so many people. You have the artists who are going and creating these beautiful objects or costumes. So you have the people who are doing outreach and making sure that people know. You have people who are creating the short videos. There's just so many different roles.
You escalate your actions according to what works and what doesn't. If you see that the initial actions don't work, you escalate and you take it up a notch.
So in January and February of this year, we started launching a campaign against Chase Bank.
Chase Bank is the #1 funder of fossil fuel companies in the world.
The way that we executed the actions at the banks was very, very fulfilling and fun.
We invoked our indigenous federal rights to pray, proclaimed and affirmed in 1978 by American Indian movement. We charged J.P. Morgan Chase with the crimes of genocide, ecocide, and femicide. We must divest now.
We were building a snake, this 20-foot-long snake that was going to be dancing around the Chase Bank representing the oil pipelines.
We must end the criminal financing against humanity and against Earth Mother and all of our relatives. We must divest now. Divest now. Divest now.
We get different standards by who are wondering why is there a big gathering of people with instruments and banners and gadgets and everything in the parking lot, and then you start to approach those people and you start to do some outreaching, and some people spontaneously actually join in.
It's hard to describe an XR action. An XR action is like all of the emotions that you have about climate and climate change coming into like a physical manifestation of the Red Brigade and all of these banners and the boat and everything else that we bring out that is not just symbolic, but like really, I think, speaks to our rage, our pain, our hope, but also the rage and pain, hope of everyone else.
We need to be disruptive. We need to draw attention to this crisis. What does it better than a pink boat and 11 people blocking a street?
The day before the Oscar Awards, we were protesting at the Hollywood sign because we were demanding that Hollywood wake up to the climate emergency.
We staged a whole protest and march and synchronized dying. We were planning that for a month or so. Everyone was just doing everything. We were all trying to chip in any way possible.
We had a Red Rebel Brigade that was the first youth Red Rebel Brigade, and we had Sonia Guajajara, who's the Amazonian leader who joined us.
Hollywood has a huge global platform, and if it uses its platform for good, then this will create the societal change that we need.
Our first demand is for Hollywood to wake up. We need you to understand the climate crisis and acknowledge that we need to take action immediately.
Nós indígenas estamos. It's important to know that indigenous peoples are doing all we can to defend life, to defend democracy, to defend the earth. As we are taking this leadership, we are inviting all of you to band together for this fight for our Mother Earth.
When I joined up in last June, I knew I needed to do something just to live with myself, but I didn't realize that it was going to be so rewarding and empowering.
The juxtaposition of the lonely car ride to arriving to see the rest of XRLA is an enormous sort of leap for your spirits. Here I go, leaving my family to go do a thing because I'm terribly worried about the future. And then arriving at the action and hearing the voices of so many other people and seeing a lot of people who are excited to voice their concerns and excited to do it in a joint effort, to do it as a group, to amplify.
We live in dark times. We live in very dark times. It can be hard to find hope.
When I joined Extinction Rebellion, I just found a sense of purpose in my life, that I was part of this gigantic group of people who are fighting for the exact same things that I'm fighting for, a more just and equitable world.
But there is hope, and that hope comes from good people joining together and having those beginning conversations.
I used to think of activists in separate categories. Activists who fight for women's rights, activists who fight for animal rights, activists who fight for social justice. And once I joined the climate movement, I realized that all activists were fighting for very similar things, and it's all related to the climate emergency.
So this is an invitation to a community circle and to basically rise to your day in a new and renewed culture that you get to imagine and create with so many others of like mind, however, of many different strengths and many different talents.
If you want to take action, if you just want to show solidarity, if you want to create, if you want to converse, learn, find comfort, all of those things are here.
Joining a community, joining an activist community like Extinction Rebellion will help you feel less alone, will help you feel empowered in a way you've never felt empowered before, will help you see the strength that you have and the skills that you have that you can bring.
We are eager to welcome people. There's lots of important work to do. You will find it satisfying, you will meet some amazing people, and you're going to have lots of opportunities for interesting adventures.
It's like if you ever had a really good after-school club, but this time you're actually doing it for a greater cause.
And there are dogs.
Every single person is needed and every person is valued in the climate movement. We all have different strengths, and those strengths are beautiful when put together.
Like, real talk, if we all don't do this, we're going to fail. So we need you.